Saya boleh buat sound check ke tak? Sebab saya kan unofficial sound engineer. Dekat belakang boleh dengar okey tak? Boleh ya? Dekat luar kita dah fix kan? Dekat luar dah tak ada komplit. Dekat luar tu maksudnya yang menonton live streaming. Selalunya awal-awal tu kalau kita ada masalah teknikal, jadi the team kena fix dia setting, audio setting properly. So here we go again. Kali terakhir kita buat majlis seperti ini ialah ke arah kita nak masuk ke dalam pilihan raya umum 2022. And for those who have followed me, Nick and our team, you can tell that if we organize a fundraising event, that means that somehow, somewhere, someone is in trouble. So bila kita mulakan tahun 2016 dulu, kali pertama, dengan invoke dahulu, the country was in trouble. Dengan 1MDB-nya, dengan cerita yang berlaku dalam kerajaan, dan selalunya kita terpaksa melalui jalan ini kerana parti-parti politik yang ada, mereka tidak mahu berubah daripada cara mereka. Awal-awal dahulu 2016, saya berkali-kali katakan kepada PH bahawa kalau kita nak ada satu perubahan, kita kena libatkan seberapa ramai rakyat biasa. The real power ialah individual members of society. Problem orang politik ialah dia ingat orang lain makan, minum, tidur politik macam dia lah. Dia ingat the world revolves around politics, around the politicians and around political parties. Unfortunately, you and I know that's not the case. Orang biasa, rakyat biasa, and there are about 32 million something Malaysians, consumption pasal politik ini adalah sangat rendah. Paling banyak pun lah. Cuma saya tak faham juga. I was about to say, consumption politik kita sebenarnya tiap-tiap minggu ni 2-3 jam sajalah. Tapi kebelakangan ini sebab saya buat podcast tak henti-henti, saya telah membantu statistically to push consumption politik orang biasa sampai 5, 6, 7 jam tiap-tiap minggu tengok podcast. Okay, let's go back to the whole why we have to do this. So orang politik, politicians, political party always believe that politics and political decisions are always the privileged domain of the politicians. Dia nak buat keputusan itu, dia buat keputusan sendiri. Dia yang decide. Kemudian dia expect orang biasa terima saja. We live in a different time. Dulu boleh lah. Dulu surat khabar kawal naratif politik. TV kawal naratif politik. Sekarang ni semua dekat screen. Nobody can actually control what individual members of the public think about a single issue. Jadi kalau sebarang perubahan yang hanya ditentukan oleh 4-5 orang politik di atas, perubahan itu tidak akan berkesan. Jadi daripada situlah, daripada 2016, I switched the school of thoughts to almost 10 years ago. I never believed a traditional political structure can bring change. Jadi kalau dalam PKR, dalam PH, kalau Anwar Ibrahim kata masalah Rafizi ni, dia ingat dia seorang je betul. Dia nak suruh orang ikut kepala dia je. Well, I have an answer. We have difference of opinion about how we should bring the public into decision making. Cara yang lama, baik Anwar Ibrahim, baik Hadi Awang, baik Zaid Hamidi, baik Muhyiddin Yassin, baik siapa lagi parti was-was nama apa? Baik Hamzah Zainuddin, ini semua peninggalan daripada politik zaman 70-an dan 80-an yang mana they all think that politicians know best. Leave it to them. Tugas orang ialah kamu bila datang mengundi, kamu undi kami and leave it to us to decide everything. So itu satu pandangan kan. Kalau saya berpandangan yang diorang kata, oh dia rasa dia seorang saja betul, idea dia saja betul. Actually fundamentally the difference is that the younger ones feel that we don't know much about a lot of things. Especially about political decisions, especially about the direction of this country. It's not our sole domain. Kalaupun saya ataupun Nick ataupun ada wakil rakyat, ahli parlimen, menteri yang lain, even though kami memegang jawatan yang nampak tinggi dalam kerajaan ataupun di parlimen, we do not have the monopoly of truth on politics in this country. I think the public knows better. And therefore, from time to time, we need to get the public involved in everything that we do. And masalah kenapa ahli politik tidak mahu buat macam ini, ialah perkara ini susah, rumit, it's tedious. Maksudnya masuk saja, you kena bersalam dan juga ambil gambar dengan beratus-ratus orang. Ahli politik lama-lama ni dia tak nak buat. Saya bila masuk, dia dah jadi kebiasaan. Saya akan jadi macam ayam golek masa Ramadan. Tahu pasal Ramadan? Dia akan pusing kan. Well, that's politics lah. After all, ambil contoh malam ini. Kita bergantung kepada sokongan dan juga sumbangan orang ramai. Ada yang datang daripada Kelantan, ada yang datang daripada Permatang Pauh, ada. Ada yang datang daripada Johor, ada yang datang daripada Sabah pun ada. So kalau orang bukan saja dia kena bayar lah. Dah lah kena bayar, beli meja. Lepas tu datang, sudah tentulah saya, Nick dan rakan-rakan yang lain, perkara yang the least we could do as a decent human being is to try to shake hands and say thank you to as many people as possible. Itu common sense orang biasa. Common sense orang biasa. Kenapa common sense itu is so uncommon dengan politicians? Sebab itu politicians kat Malaysia ni macam dia Martian sikit. Dia tak fikir macam orang biasa tau. Because that breaks down the feudal nature of our politics. Sebab orang politik ni kalau dia dah rasa dia ahli parlimen, dia menteri, kemudian dia datuk lah, Tan Sri lah, you think dia nak datang jumpa orang lah? Sebelum masuk saja, satu tempat memang dah kena cordon daripada orang lain. Ada holding room. Masa holding room tu dia dah bagi makan pun, dia dah makan pun dekat holding room. Lepas tu bawa masuk dewan, orang bawa semua, makan sekali lagi. Saya masuk tadi, korang sampai hati, kau tak sediakan meja, kursi untuk aku. Actually daripada sana tadi, saya dah terfikir tau. Meja ni dah jual semua ni, setiap single seat ni dah jual ni. So kat mana aku nak suruh aku duduk ni? Because the least bagilah aku air sikit. Sebelum berucap kan. Nasib baik ada satu meja, kursi kat situ dia orang reserve kan. So, our politics is very feudal. Jadi kalau nak harap orang yang dah jadi ahli parlimen, dah ada jawatan besar dalam parti, dalam kerajaan, if you expect them to bring themselves and jumpa and greet and say thank you, Bagi dia benda tu why susah-susah, why susah-susah. Lagi mudah, macam Nick kata, kita jumpa 3-4 orang toke saja, 50 juta seorang, beres. Now, why do I start macam itu? Sebab masalahnya, bila kita nak bawa perubahan, rakyat biasa macam kita semua ini, kena tukar mindset dan pemikiran kita tentang how politics function in this country. Apa yang kita ada ialah pertembungan di antara individu-individu yang masing-masing mengaku dia lebih baik. Dulu Najib kata dia baik kepada orang India. Najib is a very good prime minister to the Indians. That's what he sells. Dia kata, Najib juga kata dia baik kepada orang Melayu. Sebab dia Presiden UMNO, dia bagus, dia macam-macam. You and I know dia paling baik kepada Rosmah. But that's politics lah. Ada datang seorang Perdana Menteri, dia akan cakap, wah saya bagus. Trust me, saya bagus. Kan? Datang Tun Mahathir. Tun Mahathir akan cakap benda yang sama. Oh Najib ni teruk, cash is king. Trust me, saya sanggup datang balik walaupun saya sudah nak 100 tahun. I come back for you. It's all about Tun Mahathir. Kemudian datang pula, yalah, and then you have Muhyiddin, yes, kemudian datang pula Anwar. Anwar akan kempen dan telah kempen dalam pilihan raya yang lepas. Oh, orang ni teruk, BN sakau. Oh, orang ni makan duit. Oh, orang ni teruk. Trust me, because I'm a better person. If you want a clean government, trust me. Never mind how exactly you want to clean the government. Jadi itu masalah kita sebagai society. Politicians itu satu hal lah, masalah politicians. Kita juga ada masalah kerana we expect the same system. We don't want to think about how to pivot to do things differently because it's difficult, because it's alien, because it's uncertain. Kita kata tak apalah, we stick to what we have. Let's hope Anwar Ibrahim is a cleaner person. Well, I got scammed lah. Nick, I and many others, we spend a lifetime trying to see fairness in society. And when I say fairness lah, kan, orang kan tanya lah apa ni, are you going to dismantle the apartheid system? Whatever, semua masing-masing ada pandangan. Kan? But at the very least, each one of us must have a deep sense of fairness and level playing field. Kalau kita individually, as a person, regardless of who you are, you tak ada sense of fairness. Dan you tak payah cakap lah pasal dasar ke, pasal, politics ke. Because it's human nature, it's in our nature as manusia to have a sense of fairness. Dia tak adil, dia tak kisah. Kita tengok kucing pun, kalau kita ada a sense of fairness, kita akan rasa, actually it's not fair. Itu yang saya ada masalah. My wife has that kind of sense of fairness. Dia pergi ambil kucing jalanan 5 ekor. After 5 months, dia jadi 20 ekor dekat rumah. Because they never stop breeding. Kan? So, but at the very least lah, we are all born with a sense of fairness. So, I'm sure orang macam saya, Nick, dan ramai lagi our generation yang dah nak masuk 50 tahun ini, we spend a lifetime, since all our adult life, since we were 21, 22 years old, actually we didn't ask for a lot of things. We just wanted a country where everyone feel they are treated fairly. Because that is in our human nature. I don't want to be a part of a society where I have to stomach quietly. I feel that actually this is not fair lah. Kesian ke orang. Actually, it starts from that simple thing. Of course, you were young. I was young. And you thought that when politicians say that they want to do 1, 2, 3, they want to change the country, they want to solve problems, you really thought that they wanted to do it. But as I went through the full circle, I realized one thing. So long as this country and our society, so long as we stop at the individual, so long as kita ingat, kita percaya kepada seorang tokoh itu, then we don't have to think beyond trusting him. We will never solve problems in this country. Sebab itu, saya dengan Nick, ada ramai lagi. Masalahnya, kawan-kawan kita yang lain, and I can't blame them because I drafted the bond, the 10 million bond. I drafted the 10 million bond. And so, untuk memastikan siapa yang jadi wakil rakyat PKR, mereka tak lompat parti. Saya dulu sebagai timbalan presiden PKR, bekas timbalan presiden PKR, dan juga pengarah pilihan raya yang menguruskan semua pilihan raya, saya lah juga dengan peguam-peguam draft bond itu. Kalau lompat ataupun meninggalkan parti, maka kena bayar 10 juta. Jadi ada lagi yang lain-lain tu yang banyak membantu pun, so they cannot come forward. Jadi akhirnya tinggal saya dengan Nick lah. So we had to ask that question. How long do we want to lie to ourselves? Especially when the party that we spend a lot of time building and contributing, especially the government that we help install, no longer represent what we feel is the kind of reform and society we wanted. You know? Now, the good thing is this. When you least expect it, usually is the ordinary Malaysians who help you. Bandingkan antara perjalanan kami dalam bersama dengan perjalanan Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin di dalam parti wawasan. Langit dengan bumi bezanya. We've done a reverse takeover quietly, cleanly, legally. Parti wawasan sampai sekarang, walaupun dah umumkan, I have, I cannot help myself but making fun of reset yang parti wawasan bawaan. Dia kata reset, I actually want to see some kind of reset in our society. So I was as excited to see lah what kind of reset dia nak buat ni. The kind of people yang dia letak dalam pimpinan parti reset tu, I don't know whether they mean resetting society or resetting themselves. Sebab dah tua sangat. For all you know. So the difference is this. The difference is, I hope people can see the reason why we could pull off bersama so cleanly, because anything in life requires a lot of planning. If you don't plan properly, you cannot execute it. If you don't plan properly, you cannot implement. So, kenapa selalunya negara kita bila ada pimpinan, selalu kita cakap dasarnya betul tetapi pelaksanaan tak baik. Tanya orang, semua orang bagi alasan yang sama. Oh, kita sebenarnya ada dasar yang betul, tapi pelaksanaan tak baik. Bila cakap pelaksanaan tak baik itu, more often than not, dia nak bagi hint sebenarnya pegawai-pegawai kerajaan yang tak reti buat kerja. I spent 2.5 years very enriching learning curve in government. I realized one thing. Selalunya kalau benda itu tak jadi, sebabnya ialah kerana Perdana Menteri, Menteri dan Kabinet, dia tak plan properly. Dia harap dengan hanya 1, 2, 3 benda dah lah yang buat dasar itu pun pegawai kerajaan. Lepas itu dia expect pegawai kerajaan buat sendiri. Obviously you require proper plan. And then you require strong instructions. And then you require discipline follow up. Only then you get a good implementation. So I hope kalaupun kami baru 40 hari, saya berharap yang hadir dan juga yang menonton can see, I think we have pulled off almost a flawless reverse takeover of a party, and that is because everything has been planned so carefully. So plan carefully itu maksudnya apa? Kalau saudara-saudari ingat, selepas saya dengan Nick menarik diri daripada kerajaan, Jun 2025, banyak soalan yang bertalu-talu datang. You nak buat apa? Bila nak buat parti itu dan ini? The first question we ask is this. Whatever we do next is no longer about our position or our fortune individually di dalam politik. Because kalau contohnya kita nak buat parti ke, nak masuk parti lain ke, just for the sake of our individual political career, itu namanya kerja bodoh. Sebab kami dah jadi menteri. Kami dah ada jawatan yang paling tinggi dalam parti. Kalau macam saya, satu step saja lagi untuk menjadi Presiden PKR. Dan jurang umur saya dengan Datuk Seri Anwar 30 tahun. How long can Anwar Ibrahim stay there pun? 30 tahun. Kalau saya betul-betul fikir pasal jawatan untuk saya, well, saya main dengan kucing 5 tahun lagi, insyaAllah saya jadi Presiden PKR lah. So, we made sure, semasa orang tanya semua tu, we have to be really certain the reason and the meaning of what we were to do next. And it cannot be because of our political career or our fortune. Sebab itu saya kata, there's no point untuk rush nak buat parti dah, nak masuk sana. Ada sebenarnya yang pembangkang, yang nak jumpa, yang offer, ada yang offer saya menjadi Menteri Kewangan Kanan. Kalau saya dan 11-12 orang lagi ahli parlimen PKR yang bersama-sama dengan kami menarik sokongan daripada PKR, adalah siapa yang nak jadi Perdana Menteri itu, tapi saya diberitahu, ialah janjinya, you jadi Menteri Kewangan Kanan dan you tentukan apa-apa reform you nak buat dalam kerajaan. Cewa. Saya dalam hati kata, been there, done that lah. Saya dah dengar semua, I've heard it all lah yang janji macam-macam ni kan. Jadi untuk tempoh 4-5 bulan pertama, kami kata, let's not rush into talking about political party. Let's understand dahulu actually what's happening dengan orang biasa. I don't know apa yang rakyat fikir. Kalau adalah pimpinan atau orang politik kata, they know exactly yang ada dalam kepala rakyat, bohong semua. We don't know. Saya tak tahu. Sebab itu, again, we had to do extensive polling and surveys and profiling of voters over a period of June sampai Oktober 2025. And that's the beauty. Because numbers usually don't lie. Yalah, kecuali you tak reti baca angka lah kan. But numbers usually don't lie. So what we see between June and October 2025, is the emergence of only one dominant trend politically dalam society, which is the emergence of what we call disenfranchised voters. Actually semua generally kumpulan majoriti yang paling besar, baik dalam pengundi Melayu, Cina dengan India, is the same across any group, ialah satu kumpulan yang merasakan parti-parti politik yang ada ni, PH, BN dengan PN, sama saja. Why bother? You undi PH, lama-lama dia pergi buat kerajaan dengan BN. You undi PN dengan PAS, tak tentu dia takkan pergi bentuk kerajaan dengan UMNO dengan PN. Kalau jadi DAP, oleh kerana DAP ni dilihat sebagai parti yang mewakili suara orang bukan Melayu. Kalau yang menang itu UMNO pun masih kena sembang bincang dengan DAP juga. Kalau menang itu PKR, masih lagi bincang dengan DAP juga. Dan DAP pun pernah bersama dengan PAS. So, don't put it beyond anything anymore that antara mereka itu di atas, they will decide what they think is the best for the country. And trust me, they'll give you any justification for that. That's not what I say though. That's what the surveys and profiling of voters say. So sebab itu, masa itulah, barulah kami membuat keputusan bahawa ada market dan ada keperluan untuk kita buat satu platform baru. You guys mungkin bukan orang politik lah kan? You don't know how difficult it is to start from scratch, especially untuk menubuhkan parti baru. Orangnya tak ada, duitnya tak ada. Kemudian everyone will question why you are doing it. You will be attacked every single day. In my case, saya juga kena siasat. Kena ambil balik exam, bukan SPM, SPRM 5-6 hari. So sebab itu, most people will not want to start from scratch, buat satu parti baru. But I think Nick and I feel, saya tak tahulah Nick, mungkin Nick is about 5 years my junior. Jadi dia belum into retirement mode lagi. Saya dah into retirement mode, you know. I'm already thinking, 10 years. You know, I'm 49 going to 50. By the time I'm 60, certainly I don't want to be doing this. So I only have 10 years of political cycle left. What can I achieve in 10 years? So that everything was not in vain. At least for me, that's my personal motivation. So the personal motivation is that if Nick and I and other friends are able to leave a good platform, a progressive platform, a multiracial platform that can truly bring Malays, Chinese, Indian, Iban, Kadazan, Sikh, any group, the young and the old, and start from scratch and pivot daripada parti-parti yang ada. Actually, after 10 years, kalaupun tak menang ke, parti itu tak jadi Perdana Menteri ke, I think I will retire a happy man. And I think, if you are trained as an engineer and accountant like me, everything must begin with a good plan, a good prospect, and you think it's doable. And then, kalau macam itu, that's how Nick and I finally decided, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, then we realize, easier said than done. Sebabnya ialah, kalaupun ada market untuk parti baru, kalaulah kita menubuhkan satu parti baru, 90% chance parti itu tidak akan diluluskan oleh ROS, oleh kerajaan. PSM ambil masa 10 tahun untuk menubuhkan parti. Saya ingat parti-parti lain ada lagi parti yang dah umum, tapi belum lagi mendapat kelulusan. So we have to figure out how to do this smartly. So, satu caranya ialah use and decoys. Jadi what we did, kita bagi gambaran ni maksudnya ada 2-3 orang yang memang associated with me, yang submit kepada ROS permohonan 2 parti baru. Jadi saya ingat, kawan-kawan, bekas kawan-kawan lama kami dekat Putrajaya lah, dia ingat, oh Rafizi bodoh. Dia hantar tengok tu, dia nak buat parti baru, dia buat permohonan baru. Tak apa, we sit on it for as long as possible. Sebab tu, they were very cocky for the last 1 year. They were very cocky, tiap-tiap hari dia maki, dia halau, they spit on us because diorang merasakan, PKR merasakan bahawa these 2 guys actually have nowhere else to go. They did because if their plan is to have a new party, we are not going to approve the new party, so they are stuck. What they didn't know is this, that's just decoys. Let them think that that's the route that we wanted to take. We knew that we had to find a fully registered party, one that is clean dengan ROS, and one that is willing to work with us without any conditions, purely from the same vision and the same value. Again, easier said than done. So finally we shortlisted 3 parties, and I didn't approach Mr. Tan in Penang. So we find out there's a party called Parti Bersama Malaysia, ataupun MU Party, Malaysian United Party. Awal-awal ni and I cakap, problem both of us Liverpool Ni MU ni Najib dulu tau. The MU Party. And the name Bersama, even then, Mr. Tan, the founder of the party cakap, it's not our choice pun, nama Bersama ni. Actually our choice is Bersatu. Cuba dia submit kepada ROS nama Malaysian United Party. Dia minta dalam bahasa Melayu nama Parti Bersatu Malaysia. So ROS cakap Bersatu sudah ada, so you pakai Bersama je lah. Now, the good thing is this, in a way, I think Mr. Tan, Lynette and 2-3 orang yang betul-betul mengusahakan parti ini daripada 2016 di Penang, they were ahead of their time. When they set up the party and run the party, because it's run almost like an NGO. They help people, they bagi makan percuma, they bagi food box to people kan. Even 8 years ago, 9 years ago, their feeling was that parti-parti yang ada no longer represents common people. Finally, parti-parti yang ada, semua ni adalah hanya vehicle for pimpinan to get somewhere. So that's why, naively, they founded Bersama, hoping that dengan ada Bersama, it can remind parti-parti politik yang lain what exactly is a political party. Must come from the people, it must serve the people. And the funny thing is that, because they stood in election once and they didn't win in 2018, and since 2018 they function like an NGO, like a charity. So Mr. Tan has been looking for some national figures to come and work with them to bring Bersama to the national level. So that's how fate has put us together on this mission. And that's what differentiates. Itu yang membezakan, saya ingat, antara Bersama dengan wawasan. Sebab bila kita buat bersama, niatnya dan asalnya itu sangat berbeza. Kita mengambil alih parti yang hanya ada satu permintaan kepada saya dengan Nick. we've nurtured this party, and kita nak parti ini bila dibawa ke peringkat nasional, ialah betul-betul membawa suara rakyat. Sebab itu kita letak bersama ini ialah suara rakyat. Walaupun sometimes I feel like it's so corny, suara rakyat. Tapi itu one of the wishes of the founders of the party. That they founded the party, give voice kepada orang biasa macam mereka. So if we were to give this party to you unconditionally, all we ask is that you give that voice and amplify it nationally supaya bersama ini berbeza dengan parti-parti yang lain. So, lo and behold, saya dengan Nick, dengan kawan-kawan yang lain spend a lot of time. Nick tak pernah bersetuju dengan nama bersama awalnya. Kan? Saya macam, bersama, how to sell lah. Yes, macam mana, how saya cepat-cepat lock nama bersama and override everyone else. I don't care what you say, the name is bersama. Why? Domain name. That's why planning is very important. Kalau you ambil nama yang paling hebat ke, parti rakyat terbaik ke, you panggil lah nama apa kan? Cantik nama tu semua, finally you nak pergi buat a proper digital system, you must begin with a good domain name. Macam mana Amazon dapat nama Amazon? Anyone knows? Exactly. Jeff Bezos, bila dia nak mulakan company, the first thing dia kira, domain name. Pergi search satu nama yang satu dunia tahu, yang bermula dengan huruf A, yang masih lagi available. Tinggallah Amazon.com. Itu jadi Amazon.com. So we did exactly the same thing. Bila kita dah shake hand, semua dah okey, parti itu telah diambil alih oleh Shukri Razak. Dia presiden parti masih di Johor, dia tak boleh balik. Sebab tu malam ni saya dengan Nick saja. Bila kita dah ambil alih je, jangan fikirlah nak tukar nama macam sekarang ni. Parti Wawasan satu masalah pula nak melalui proses dengan ROS untuk menukar nama. Kita kata, tak apa, pergi check domain name dulu. Saya tanya budak saya, bersama.org ada ke tidak? Ada. Okay, you buy, you book, no discussion, namanya bersama. We'll figure out how to sell it to the public later. So that's why we end up as bersama. Now, saya berkongsi semua ini, maksudnya kenapa? Actually, if you want to pull off sesuatu yang ada impact, you really need to plan. Zaman yang mana ahli politik pergi naik sembang pumpang-pumpang, saya hebat. Doesn't work anymore lah. And people will judge us bersama by how efficient we plan. By how effective we carry out our programs. And this is the bit last kali yang saya nak kembali kepada soal negara, soal rakyat, soal kita semua. Pada saya, kita ada 2-3 masalah utama as a society, as a country. Pertama ialah corruption. Right now we all accept it lah. Government comes and go. Corruption is there to stay if we do the same thing over and over. Ada orang sampai cakap, saya baca komen-komen lah, tweet lah, ada orang, especially yang budak-budak ni tahu, Gen Z, bimbang juga aku. Komen-komen dia, saya sebenarnya suka Rafizi ni. I follow him, I like him. I think he can be a good leader. But ada satu masalah lah, dia tak bijak, dia bodoh. Sebab dia tak nak tunggu. Kalau dia tunggu, tak buat apa, you tunggu saja. Nanti bila sampai masanya, dia jadi PM lah. That's quite a prevailing view, especially among youngsters. Which is very alarming. Maksudnya, kalau di kalangan orang kita yang muda-muda, pertimbangan dia ialah siapa jadi naik pangkat saja. As if that everything about politics is reaching the destination. And that destination is about power, pangkat, harta. I'm worried. Tapi, it's quite a prevailing view antara yang muda-muda. Now, corruption. Kita ada corruption yang bermula daripada sistem politik. Bila orang politik yang jadi menteri, yang jadi pimpinan kanan ini, dia ambil wang, then it sets a very bad example kepada civil servants. Civil servants, perkhidmatan awam ini ada kuasa yang cukup besar. Mereka yang duduk dalam lembaga tender. They are the ones that recommend this tender, that company and this company. Basically, kalau pula kena menteri itu, menteri yang kaki tidur, dia tinggalkan semua kepada KSU, kepada pegawai-pegawai kanan kerajaan. Basically, the real decision maker is pegawai-pegawai kanan kerajaan. Now, kalau pegawai kanan kerajaan tu, dia dah tengok menteri kaki makan duit tau. Dia ni semua suruh orang tu bayar kereta, dia pakai kereta orang lain. Anak dia pergi cuti semua, ada kontraktor yang bayar. You know what will happen? Dan pegawai kanan kerajaan kata, you know what? Dia jadi macam Piramli dulu. Ibrahim Pendek. Lu ingat tak Ibrahim Pendek dulu, Piramli? Satu untuk kau, satu untuk aku. Satu untuk kau, satu untuk aku. And then, don't worry YB. Dia kalau menteri dia panggil YBM. Yang berhormat menteri. Don't worry YBM. Semua saya dah settle. Jadi menteri pun dia rasa he is well taken care of by the officer. Dia bukan peduli pun dan dia dah lose the right to talk about integrity and corruption. Sebab kalau dia nak tegur pegawai kanan dia jangan makan duit, pegawai kanan dia tu kereta yang you pakai tu siapa punya? So I scratch your back, you scratch your. Dan sistem itu, yang ini yang saya sebut tentang yang muda-muda tadi tu, yang berbahaya sebab banyak di kalangan orang biasa walaupun dia cerdik. Walaupun sebenarnya dia benci rasuah, tetapi dia ada exception bahawa beginilah politik di Malaysia. Kalau politik di Malaysia ini, political party needs funding. And therefore, they need to be corrupt. Kalau tidak, macam mana nak buat political party? Mesti ada sponsor lah. And that's where kita akan terus dengar daripada satu zaman ke satu zaman akan ada orang yang datang cakap, I'm a better person. I will be better than the previous Prime Minister because I will be cleaner. And by that it means that kalau Prime Minister sebelum saya ambil 2 bilion, saya hanya ambil 1 bilion. I'm better than him. So satu masalah utama ialah corruption. How exactly are we going to fix corruption dalam negara kita? Nick ada sebut, NGO ada sebut pasal Political Financing Act, macam-macam. I will touch about why I think kalaupun ada Political Financing Act, kita masih lagi belum keluar from the rabbit hole. Masalah kedua kita apa dia? Our competitiveness as a society and economy. Actually, let's face it. Yang boleh compete besar dekat atas ni, yang kita banggakan, ekspor kita sana, kita hebat, top 3 in the world, top 5 in the world, itu ialah syarikat-syarikat besar yang MNC or really super big company already. By and large, our SMEs, which makes 97% of all our companies, by and large, our SMEs struggle. Sebab itu, you nak buat apa dasar pun, nak naikkan gaji, nak buat yang itu, nak buat yang ini, finally you will go back to, but if we tweak too much, then you will start hurting the SMEs. And when you hurt the SMEs, you will hurt job. Jadi akhirnya, Marilah kerajaan macam mana pun, dasar-dasar yang buat itu jadi aspirational. Kita nak naikkan gaji, kita nak besarkan itu. But we have been failing for the last 20-30 years. And it goes back to this question, how do we reform the economy? And the third biggest problem is this, sustainability. Semua yang kita ada sekarang ini is no longer sustainable for the next 20-30 years. Our healthcare is not sustainable. Apa yang kita ada sekarang, dengan wang yang kita ada sekarang, dengan masyarakat kita yang akan ada lebih ramai orang tua, termasuklah saya, in 10-15 years time, it's no longer sustainable. Sebab itu sekarang kita dah mula nampak simptom itu. Health insurance going up. So-called health reform, health financing initiative. Ini semuanya kerana our health funding is no longer sustainable. But nobody likes to talk it openly. Nobody likes to look at it holistically. Everyone wants good news kerana kita ada ahli-ahli politik, menteri-menteri yang takut tell the truth kepada rakyat, because kalau nak buat reform macam itu, besar sangat, nanti kita hilang undi. So our health care financing and our health care service is not sustainable for the future. Our pension is not sustainable for the future. Our debt is not sustainable for the future. And because of that, perkara-perkara yang we take it for granted. Contohnya, how we manage our subsidy. How we allocate financial resources to what sector. Semua itu has to be discussed openly and holistically. So, those three big problems will not run away whoever is the Prime Minister. You know? My view is this. Kalau kita masih lagi bercakap dalam kerangka yang sama, cara yang sama, and yang kita nak buat penyelesaian itu hanyalah kosmetik. It's right pocket going to left pocket. You pinch from one group to give to another group. It's not going to solve the problem. We need an entirely new holistic thinking, so that if you reform, beginning with how we are going to fund this country, I'm sure sebenarnya the public is open to suggestions that if we reform our taxation system holistically, if you want to bring GST, don't bring GST just to add revenue. You bring GST to make sure that you relook at all other taxation that is a burden to businesses, so that the overall net effect, it lowers the cost for the businesses, for the small people. It allows larger budget for things that we need to fund for common Malaysians, ordinary Malaysians. So, nobody wants to talk about tax reform. Likewise, healthcare reform. How are we going to manage healthcare in the future so that kalau ada orang kena bayar, contohnya, kalau ada orang kena bayar, they feel that apa yang mereka bayar itu adalah berbaloi with what they get. Now, that's why saya nak tutup begini. Saya nak tutup begini. Of course, we are not in government now. Orang akan kata, alah, you cakap, you senang lah. You pembangkang, you sembang bagi formula baru. Masa you jadi kerajaan dulu, apa you buat? You know, I will hear this over and over and over again. What I also learn is this. Bila orang criticize and run you down, the best way is not to answer verbally. The best way is to prove them wrong by doing something entirely. So let's start dengan soal political funding and corruption. I no longer believe lah, kalaulah datang ustaz dengan serban paling besar, pakai jubah. Dia kata, bagilah kat saya ni semayang tak tinggal, dahi saya lebam, saya tidak akan ambil duit 1 sen pun. I don't believe it. I've seen it. Been there, done that. Kalau cara parti itu beroperasi masih lagi sama. Maksudnya, kalau dia nak bawa orang, nak suruh buat sesuatu, dia bayar orang. Kalau dia nak naik dalam parti, dia kena ada ramai orang yang dia kena jaga, and lama-lama every month dia kena mula bayar. There are people on their payroll yang dia kena bayar untuk dia kekal dapat sokongan. No amount of political financing act is going to change that. The best way is to change how political party works. And we have to be transparent. We need to get the public to come forward and have a skin in the game. So the deal is, parti macam bersama, we have to be as transparent as possible. Every single cent you give, we have to declare. Every spending yang kita buat, we have to declare. And therefore, we are bound to be as efficient as possible in our spending. Sebab itu, kalau orang yang komplain dekat luar, kenapa sound system ni mahal? Sebab kita ada sound system tak bagus. Sebab kita ada 3 orang saja tim. Kalau orang tanya why? Because I want to prove bersama can run everything dengan 3 orang saja dekat belakang. Sebab every single cent that you give, that funds bersama, must be spent as prudently and as efficiently as possible. Only then, I think, tak ada alasan dah ahli politik kata, saya perlukan duit daripada toke because I have to fund the party. Bersama's mission in the next few years is not to form a government. Our mission is to prove that we can run this party efficiently and even better than the dinosaur party without taking a single cent daripada toke, business, contract, everything. And if we can prove that, and I hope it will convince the younger generation so that dia faham sebenarnya this concept that you kena ada duit and you kena ada corrupt to go up is wrong. Itulah yang melahirkan pimpinan-pimpinan yang kononnya progresif dan liberal tapi bersetuju dan menyokong 1MDB dulu. Sebab their answer was like that. Oh, I'm not racist. I'm very progressive. But I have to bide my time because I need to be Prime Minister first before I can change. In the meantime, I need to take money so that I can go up. Betul tak? Sampai bila kita nak ada macam itu? We have to stop that. We must prove that sebenarnya if you are 27-year-old, because through bersama, you don't need the kind of money that other parties operate with, and therefore, bila you jadi wakil rakyat, you betul-betul beholden to the voters. Because they fund you. They vote for you. It's only right that you only answer to them and not the vested interest. So it's the same. It's the same when we talk about how to fix the problem pasal healthcare, pasal sustainability, pasal the economy. So long as you belong to one kind of coalition or another, you cannot speak up freely. Kalau you complain pasal, nak sebut pasal GST, nanti kerajaan ataupun your coalition, sama ada PH ke, BN ke, PN ke, kata, oh no, tak boleh. That is not our stand. Before you can make any stand, it has to be agreed di dalam our council, leadership council. Ambil PN contohnya. Leadership council dia ada Haji Hadi, ada Muhyiddin Yassin. You think Haji Hadi is interested to talk about tax reform kah? Taxi dia tahu lah. Tax dia tak tahu lah. So finally, all these issues, dia takkan bincang. So finally, you will never go near the real discussion and discourse that we must have in our society about the future, about policy, about sustainability, about competition. Sebab if you propose something radical, ada parti-parti lain yang kata, oh no, we are losing support. Kalau kita nak cakap pasal how to reduce the dependency on foreign workers and bring it down within 10 years to just 5% of our workforce, because they are taking and suppressing good salary for our locals. Kalau saya cakap, akan ada yang kata, oh, tapi Chinese group tak suka lah, businessmen tak suka. I don't actually believe that. I mean, I'm a business owner myself. I want to hear how you want to do it, because we are up for discussion. If the way you do it is that it kills us more, of course I tak suka. But if government gives support, if government puts all the measures required, if it's a national program, I'm more than happy to be part of the government program. Saya tak adalah pekerja asing. I'm saying that all my staff are locals. Again, I'm saying that to use the excuse that Chinese businessmen will always oppose to any kind of SME reform. That's not true. A lot of my clients are Chinese SMEs. They struggle as much as anyone else struggle. And they are up for discussion. But kalau you jadi part of PH, you are part of the government, you can never touch any of that. Sebab, oh nanti kita akan hilang undi China. So that's why doing what we do, being different the way that we are, having the independence that we have now, to me and to Nick and others in Bersama, is more important than winning an election or for us to be a minister or MP again. I'll be more than happy if I am a social activist for the next 10 years. Been there, done that. There's nothing special being an MP or minister. Yeah? Finally, I want you to reflect this. Yeah? I can't read the room. That's my problem. I can never read the room. You know, I can't tell what's in your heart. It's only logical kalau saya berada di tempat saudara-saudari, here you have a party yang baru ditubuhkan 40 hari, and dia kata dia tak nak ambil duit toke. Dia tak nak get near any vested interest. They want people to work for free and volunteer. Tak cukup dengan itu, orang kena beli t-shirt dia lagi. Kena bagi duit kat dia lagi. Bank account dah ada ke? Siapa yang belum bagi duit, sila bagi duit. No? And then yang tanya, kenapa tak ada QR code? That's because kita parti baru 40 hari. Bank selalunya ambil masa 2 bulan untuk bagi QR code. So tunggu dalam sebulan lagi, baru boleh ada QR code untuk transfer duit. You know? But I can understand how you might feel. All this is just talk. Parti baru, budak-budak, kemudian chances are, masuk pilihan raya akan datang, the next general election, after that, they will be gone. Macam mana nak lawan PH yang hebat? Apatah lagi mereka ada pimpinan seorang Perdana Menteri yang paling popular dalam Malaysia. Nama Anwar Ibrahim. Macam mana you nak lawan? Macam mana you nak lawan PAS? Macam mana you nak lawan UMNO? Semua kan? Do you know Google? Of course, all of us know Google kan? Google is not the first search engine in the world. Google adalah search engine nombor berapa? 18. Bila Google was launched, I think that was when? 1996, 98 rasanya. bila Google was launched in 1998, sebenarnya sudah ada 12 search engine platform yang jauh lagi besar. Google awal-awal tu, kecilnya dia sebenarnya offer kepada Yahoo untuk beli Google, I think for only about 1 million plus saja, $1 million. Yahoo masa itu, in 1998, valuation dia adalah about $4 billion. Kalau kita duduk zaman 1990, I don't know how many of you were around then, kan? Maybe a lot kot. All of us are quite old here, kan? So, mungkin, kita lebih biasa dengan Yahoo, dengan Alta Vista, apa lagi ada masa tu? All that. What is Google? And I remember masa Google mula-mula ada, saya cakap, apalah bodoh lah Google ni, nampak dia punya website nampak buruk je, putih je. Orang lain ada color-color. Kan? Now, by now, the only search engine yang betul-betul dah jadi super tech giant is actually, of course, Google. Within a space of 5-6 years, Google has eaten everything and everyone. Yahoo ke, Alta Vista ke, semua mati dah. Why? Because they have a good product market fit. They know exactly apa yang user dan pengguna-pengguna nak daripada search engine. Pengguna tak nak yang gambar cantik-cantik, grafik cantik-cantik, lepas tu nak download lama. Masa tu pakai dial up, ingat tak? You refresh, nak search website, kena pergi kat Yahoo. Yahoo pula, dia punya revenue masa tu daripada advertisement banner lah. Banner tu pula grafik dia besar. Jadi you bayangkan pakai dalam. Lepas tu duk tengok banner tu keluar sikit. Bila masanya nak search engine-nya? So Google understand that a search engine, number one, nobody cares about the banner, nobody cares about the design. People only care about two things, speed of search and quality of search. You figure out the revenue model separately. Because Yahoo, Alta Vista, semua masa itu is all about the revenue model first. Never mind about the search engine function. But what choice do they have? Yahoo besar. People have no choice. Dia kena pakai je lah. Dial up teruk macam mana pun pakai lah. Google said, no. What is important to users is that the speed of search and also the quality of search. And they come out, of course, eventually by now, biasalah. They come out dengan ads placement, text ads placement. They come out with what by now is known as SEO, search engine optimization. They transform everything from scratch because they question and they start with the problem statement. The problem statement is how to get the search faster and the result better. Samalah juga dengan kita, saudara-saudari dalam Malaysia. Let's start with the problem statement. We have 3 problem statements. First, that's how to get rid of corruption and how to change the corrupt political culture in political party. That is going to be our mission. Our mission is not nak jadi Perdana Menteri, nak jadi Menteri ke apa semua. Our mission is to prove that we can solve that problem statement. That bersama can prove we can get rid of that corrupt political culture. Our next mission statement, problem statement ialah how do we reform everything in this country holistically so that we resolve the issue of competition in our economy and also sustainability of our economy and government. And for that, kita kena open book dan kita juga kena transparent and kita kena start from scratch on a blank sheet of paper. Dan itulah yang hopefully kami ada lebih kurang 2 minggu bertempur di Johor. Saya berharap kita tak hilang deposit lah. Sebab kalau hilang deposit, letih nak melayan ceplos. Kan? I'm hoping, I think with your help, with your prayers, with all our work, I'm hoping that we will surprise people. The best thing, bila kita buat sesuatu yang susah, the best thing is to go in as an underdog. And that's where we are now. We are an underdog. As an underdog, if we work hard, we will surprise people. Because biarlah tiap-tiap hari BN maki PH, PH maki PN maki bersatu maki PAS, and then they pusing sama dia orang, they forget sebenarnya ada satu parti nama Kancil. So, we have 2 weeks untuk pilihan raya Johor. Hopefully, we'll surprise people. Of course, lepas itu kita ada pilihan raya Negeri Sembilan. Tetapi a lot of what will happen in Negeri Sembilan, Melaka and subsequently the general election, a lot will depend on keputusan pilihan raya Johor. And because keadaannya agak mudah, berdasarkan profiling pengundi yang kita ada setakat ini, yang paling terbuka untuk mengundi dan menghargai kehadiran bersama adalah dari kalangan pengundi-pengundi Melayu dan juga India. Yang masih lagi mahu menguji dan once bersama to prove ourselves is Chinese voters. Because Chinese voters bimbang kalau undi itu berpecah. If there is a split vote, it becomes the propaganda becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. That kalau pengundi Cina bagi undi kepada parti selain daripada DAP dan PH, itu akan melunturkan undi Cina dan akhirnya bersama tak menang pun. Tapi yang menang itu ialah PAS ataupun UMNO. I'm okay with that. It's a fair expectation. So we'll work with the base that we have di kalangan pengundi Melayu dan juga India. And I think 2 weeks, I hope, kita sama-sama yakinkan, bukan saja pengundi Cina, but yang Melayu, Cina, India, that bersama intends to become Google one day. That walaupun we are seen as a latecomer, but because we come with better solution, we are more efficient, we are more innovative, then give us 3 to 4 years, we'll be able to do what Google did to Yahoo, we'll do that to other dinosaur political parties in Malaysia. Jadi terima kasih banyak-banyak. Thank you for all your contribution. It's your contribution that funds the campaign in Johor. Not my money, it's not Nick's money. It's your contribution. It's your contribution that allows us to very quickly have a party headquarters. It's under renovation now. The party headquarters is, itu dia. Saya pasti ada orang kata, ini parti HQ ke Cox Mammoth? Okay, so it's not Cox Mammoth now, it's not IKEA, it is our party HQ. It's about 70% ready. It's putting the final touches. It will have a mini auditorium, a split level mini auditorium that can house 250 people. Because kalau you run a political party, antara kos yang paling mahal and recurring is actually reno space. Nak buat taklimat 100 orang, nak buat forum, semua kena sewa. And satu small room kalau dekat KL easily 3 to 4,000. So, it's better to invest. So, the whole building sebenarnya ada 2 function saja. Ground floor dengan mezzanine floor is basically a split level auditorium. And we will have a huge LED dekat the stage. and we will try to recreate the stage that we have launched bersama on 17 May 2026. So it's a smaller stage, but it's more or less the kind of setup that we have. And top floor is basically a conference room, a multi-purpose conference room that can seat about 50 people. So the renovation will be completed in about 2 weeks' time. I hope kita tak hilang deposit. Sebab kalau pilihan raya di Johor kita tak hilang deposit, at least bila kita launch and jemput orang ramai ke parti HQ dalam 3 minggu daripada sekarang, itu bukanlah untuk menangis beramai-ramai. Kalau tidak, it's so weird. You panggil orang to your auditorium, semua orang sedih menangis. Kan? We have truck. Kan? So, with the first truck is already operational. And it's the same thing about truck. It's not as if that I'm obsessed with truck. It's just that truck is the cheapest way to run an election. Without this truck, that means that kita nak buat setiap ceramah, setiap program, you kena bayar 5,000, 7,000 sebab orang itu akan kata, saya perlukan kemah, saya nak PA system. PA system berapa? 3,000 bang. 3,000 sana, 4,000 sini. You pergi tengok. Ayah, it's a very bad PA system, it's a very bad kemah. Tapi nak tak nak is election, you have to pay. Having this allows us to have one good system that saves money over time. So your money and contribution allow us to rent the first one yang kita gunakan di Johor sekarang, because the rent is about 28,000 a month. The driver is about 4,000 a month. So it's about 32,000 a month. So, okay lah, untuk bulan ini selesai lah kan. So, but going forward, as we move into next general election, and it's quite obvious that bersama, if we want to be the Google of Malaysian politics, we must think big and have big ambition. So to think big maksudnya, dalam pilihan raya umum akan datang, kita bertanding bukan 15 kursi lah. Kita bertanding banyak kursi sebenarnya. And for that, going forward, we may need another 1 or 2 trucks. So that kita boleh ada di banyak tempat, because the logistic planning, kalau satu truck is actually quite challenging. My team dah berbelanja banyak kredit via Claude, for Claude to plot the best efficient route untuk where the truck will go, supaya kita boleh maximize every day berapa tempat and how many people we meet. So if we have another 1 or 2 going into the next general election, it will help us. So finally, all I can say is this. I never imagined that we can pull off this much in a space of 40 days. It's I know that people from time to time, I have a lot of aunties who follow me on YouTube live, from time to time. I got messages, people ask, do you have enough sleep? Make sure you eat a bit, not exercise lah. Kalau exercise tak sempat ceramah, that's my excuse now. It has been challenging. It is true that it's almost 20 hours a day for the last, I think, 60 days. It's been horrible. And in fact, I told my team lah, 2-3 minggu lepas, and I said, I never worked this hard in my life when I was younger. So it's almost like 20 days, 20 hours a day, 7 days non-stop for the last 8 to 9 weeks. But seeing where we are, seeing everyone who comes tonight, and I think all of you know it's very difficult for political party to and pull off a fundraising dinner nowadays. Sebab orang tak beli meja. DAP tak buat sangat, PKR langsung tak buat. Sebab PKR tak payah buat, dia dah ada Rahmanan. So PKR tak buat, DAP pun takut buat, Amanah tak buat, BN lagi lah kan. The fact that semua meja-meja kita sold off within 2.5 weeks, thank you very much. If Nick and I and budak-budak semua yang muda-muda ni have to work 20 hours a day for the next 2 weeks to give us a surprise in Johor election, I promise to you, we will work 21 hours a day after this. So thank you. Alhamdulillah. Let's look forward. Let's move on. Let's not be bothered about why politics is bad for us. Let Anwar bergaduh dengan Muhyiddin, bergaduh dengan Hadi, bergaduh dengan Zahid. Let them do. Let's focus for the future. We are nimble, we are agile, and if Google has done it before, I'm sure